Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, the basketball edition. Before I go any further, I want to give a shout out and show my love to Jay Otis. He is the newest member of MVP. MVP is one of the 4 memberships of the Adrienne Ross Show channel. I have Rookie, MVP, Legend, and GOAT. And they're all so very much appreciated. Jay, thank you so much for jumping aboard the MVP train. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you click the join button at the Adrienne Ross Show on YouTube and get some information about those memberships, the perks that come with them. Thank you also to every subscriber to the channel. If you have not done so, boom, smash that button. You'll be glad you did. Now to today's topic. If you missed out on my live stream of the WNBA draft lottery, you missed a good time. We always have a good time during the lives. We laugh, we have fun, and we also talk about some serious topics. And yesterday was absolutely no exception. One of the things we talked about was how the 4 players who were representing their 4 teams showed themselves to be very respectful, very well-spoken, dressed well. I think their teams did a good job of picking players to represent them. And so obviously the draft lottery is for teams that did not make the playoffs to find out how they'll pick in the draft on April 14th. So Angel Reese represented the Chicago Sky. Rickea Jackson represented the Los Angeles Sparks. Maddie Siegrist represented the Dallas Wings. And Aaliyah Edwards represented the Washington Mystics. Again, they did a really good job representing their team. So shout out to them for the way that they presented themselves very professionally. That we talked about during the live as well. And in case you have not heard, starting from 4 up to 1, the Mystics got number 4, the Chicago Sky got number 3, the Los Angeles Sparks got number 2, and the big winner was the Dallas Wings. They got number 1. And of course, everyone is now saying, has been saying that Paige Bueckers, who plays for UConn, will be chosen number 1. I mean, people feel as certain about that as they felt about Caitlin Clark going number 1 to Indiana. Now, there's a whole NCAA season to be played, and people have to stay healthy and all that stuff. But people are pretty much, I shouldn't even say pretty much, people feel certain that it will be Paige Bueckers who will go number 1, and therefore she will go to the Dallas Wings. And so the conversation before the actual draft lottery in my live, the conversation was, okay, so we've been wanting Satou Sabally, a free agent, to come to Indiana. And some things have happened that caused people to believe that she wants to play in Indiana. And so Indiana Fever fans have been holding out hope. But then before even the draft lottery, someone had put in the comments, and we had a conversation about it. Well, if Dallas wins and they get the number 1 pick, does that mean that Satou will not want to come to Indiana? So people begin to talk about that. And that's an interesting conversation to have. And we had it. And so, first of all, let me stop here and let's take a look at what the response was from Arike Agumbawale, who plays for Dallas, who is not only likable, but an incredible talent. And when she found out that Dallas got number 1, what was her reaction? Let's take a look at her social media. Pretty simple. Arike Agumbawale, what did she say? I just fell to my knees. Thank you, Lord, with 4 crying emojis. She is absolutely thrilled that they got this number 1 pick. So that's Arike's response. And again, people are assuming it's going to be Paige Bueckers. So she's excited. Now, let's go back to what I said. Before we even found out who was number 1, 2, 3, or 4, people were saying, oh my goodness, if Dallas gets that first pick, and Paige goes to Dallas, then will Satou not want to go to Indiana? And so then after, in fact, Dallas did get number one, then that becomes the conversation. And I'm hearing other people talking about it the day after, of course. And so I got to say, well, I mean, and some even so far, at least from titles and headlines I've seen, some people even going so far as to say that Satou will not want to come to Indiana. I say come as if I'm in Indiana, right? Will not want to be in Indiana. She'll want to stay in Dallas. And of course, you've got the whole conversation about that fact that, or the idea that Dallas is going to core Satou anyway. But I was watching Live Wire Sports, shout out to Martin, because he did a video in which he was saying just because they core her doesn't necessarily mean that she has to sign that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if she wants to leave, that she can't negotiate something different. He's saying that she can. There's a lot I don't know about how all those things work and the contracts and the coring and all that. But you can check out Live Wire Sports and see what he has to say about that. But he's pointing out, number one, that she doesn't have to sign that. And even if they core her, she doesn't have to stay. She can facilitate trade and all this other stuff. And he also pointed out, as some others are, that even if Dallas picked Paige Bueckers, I can't even say it. Even if Dallas picked Paige Bueckers number one, that there could be some maneuvering going on, which would maybe bring Paige to Los Angeles. So, but be it as it may, as it is right now, Dallas is number one. They're likely to pick Paige Bueckers, assuming she stays healthy, etc. So that brings us back to where I started. If you're Satou Sabally and you've got a choice, are you going to choose Paige Bueckers over Caitlin Clark? Because that's really what it comes down to. People are saying she'll want to be there to play with Paige. So that to me says you're saying that she'd rather stay there rather than go to Indiana. Although it appears that she has sort of indicated that she is interested. If you can read people's social media likes, people believe that Satou has indicated that she would be interested in going to Indiana. And she's also spoken well of Caitlin Clark. So let's take a look at what she had posted that made people, Indiana Fever fans in particular, start to go, ooh, Satou, come on over here. Come on over here to Gamebridge. Take a look. So the Clark report shows this. And I'm just going to click on here. This is that post. It was on TikTok. And it says, yeah, so I'll be a free agent this year. And so that was her post. And Caitlin Clark fans started posting things. Indiana Fever fans started posting things, telling her, come on over, we want you, etc. And she was liking them. And that took people noticed that. And so people were saying, oh my goodness, she's low-key saying, bring me to Indiana, or not so low-key saying, bring me to Indiana. But now again, Paige going to Dallas. And there are people who say she's going to want to stay with Paige rather than go to Indiana, which means you're saying she would prefer to play with Paige rather than to play with Caitlin Clark. And so, I mean, those are the thoughts out there. Okay. So let's just take a look though at what Satou has said before about Caitlin Clark. This is on SI.com, also from the Clark report. And let's hear what she said.
I think the WNBA narrative right now is Caitlin Clark, and I think that's a good narrative, but it's also not the only narrative. Caitlin is an amazing generational talent, and she's going to do amazing things. You're the number one pick. People are going to go after you, whether it's for the right or wrong reasons, because they see greatness in you. And what the WNBA is measuring one type of greatness against the other greatness. There's just so much more to the WNBA than Caitlin, but Caitlin is the face right now, and that's also good. She's selling out gyms. Why would you hate against that? We had a sold out home opener. I think it was a practice game. Like, it wasn't even serious. We benefited from that because now we have all our fans there and they're excited, and you have new people coming into a market. She is her own economy, and that is amazing. And she's being paid her worth. And now we need to get other women on board to get paid their worth, because she's the reflection of what should happen in women's.
Now, what Satou does there is strike a balance that we should expect from any WNBA player. And that is, she is absolutely showing Caitlin incredible respect. She's the face of the league. She's a generational talent. She's getting paid her worth. She's done great things. Why would you hate on her? What is up with that? She's doing that. But she is also, again, as a player, you obviously expect her to strike a balance where she's going to say, Caitlin's not the whole story. There are other players out there. It's greatness meeting greatness, and they need to get their due as well. And so I wouldn't expect anything less from any player worth her salt in the league. She's going to give that respect, but she's also going to say, but, you know, she's not the only story. But she clearly shows respect for Caitlin Clark. And again, she made sure we knew she was a free agent, put that out there on social media, and she was liking posts when Fever fans talked about her coming to Indiana. And people were feeling pretty good about maybe the Indiana Fever organization would be able to get out there and make sure that they get Satou. Now, of course, again, Dallas Wings, where Satou has the first pick. And Paige Bueckers is likely to be. I say because, and I say it like that because things happen, right? And she's prone to injury, which we'll talk about in a moment. But she is a draw, right? And people have great expectations of her. And so people are like, oh my goodness, and she's gonna pick there. And I'm just saying, if I'm Satou and I've got two options, I get to play with Paige Bueckers, whom people are raving about, or I get to play with Caitlin Clark, whom people are raving about and raving about and raving about. If I'm Satou and I've got a way to make that decision through all the negotiating and all the stuff that goes with that, I'm picking. Who do you think I said? And who would you say? I'm picking Caitlin Clark. Hands down. I'm picking Caitlin Clark because there's only one Caitlin Clark. Yes, there's only one Paige Bueckers, but we see what Caitlin has done. Caitlin has already done her thing in the WNBA, already broken how many records? Dozens and dozens and dozens of records. Every time she stepped on the floor, she was setting a record, breaking a record. She's already withstood the physicality of the league. They threw everything at her and she kept getting back up. She's the rookie of the year. She was in the MVP conversation. She has Stephanie White now to coach her, a new president, a new GM, and she's already done tremendous things in her first year with all the opposition against her. Caitlin Clark has shown herself to be an incredible basketball player who makes it easier for everybody else. I mean, not only does she shoot the shot, she's working on her floater. She's working on the mid-range. She can get to the basket. She draws the eyeballs. She's got the fans, and we know Satou likes that because she commented on it before. I did a video about how she said it was kind of irritating that even when she comes to Dallas, there are more Fever jerseys than anything. She's like, it's kind of annoying, in a funny kind of way. But at the same time, she gets it. She understands this is really cool. So with all that going, and we've got Paige Bueckers on the other hand, who's a great talent, but she's not done anything in the WNBA yet. And she's been injured a whole lot in her career. So I'm thinking, if you're trying to tell me that Satou has got to pick between the two, I'm saying it's a no-brainer. I mean, unless she just doesn't want to doesn't want to leave Dallas. If that's the case, like, I'd rather be in Dallas and I'm already here and Paige gives us a great opportunity, then there's that. But I'm thinking, if you're just looking at the game itself and the potential, I'm thinking she's going for Indiana if she's interested in Indiana at all. And let's take a look at some information about Paige that I said I would get back to. Here at Yard Barker, it says how she has shown star potential from her arrival in stores. When she led, that's obviously UConn, when she led the Big East in assists, three-point shooting percentage, and as a freshman. But health has been an issue. Bueckers had ankle surgery as a freshman. Stop that. She had ankle surgery as a freshman. She needed knee surgery as a sophomore. And she tore her ACL in 2022, causing her to miss the entire 2022-23 season. Of course, she came back last year, and man, it's like she didn't miss a beat, right? 21.9 points, 3.8 assists, 5.2 rebounds in 39 games. And she led the Huskies to the Final Four, where Caitlin Clark's Iowa team sent them home. And she has averaged 21.3 points, 4 assists, 3.7 rebounds in the 3 games thus far, 2024-25. And that was at the time of this article here from Yard Barker. So there's that. Now, I'm certainly not speaking over her life that she's going to have a whole lot more injuries. I'm just saying, if I'm Satou and I had made up my mind, or I was leaning into the thought that I could go to Indiana and play with Caitlin Clark, and now we've got the #1 draft pick, and Paige Bueckers is likely to have that spot, and I'm weighing what Caitlin has done versus what Paige has done. Let me rephrase that. What Caitlin has done in college and in the WNBA so far, and what Paige Bueckers has done in an interrupted career at UConn and only a few games in this season, and the history she's had. I'm picking Indiana, unless I don't want to move for whatever reason. I got family here or something like that, and I just don't want to move. Other than that, if I'm talking about Caitlin versus Paige in terms of not comparing them like a lot of people are doing out there, I'm talking about in terms of who's the better player to play with, to have the best opportunity to play, to do more with. I'm going with Caitlin Clark, hands down. But what do you guys think? You think Satou is going to stay put and hope that Paige is actually there? Or if she can, do you think if she's thinking about going to Indiana, she's going? Or even if, we don't know if she's thinking about it, do you think that's a good fit for Indiana? You tell us in the comments. Should be interesting. But as far as Arike Agumbawale is concerned, she says, thank you, Lord. All right. I'll catch you guys next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.